Hi, everybody. Jack Chadirdjian here, the Assistant Director General of the English Montreal School Board. I'm at EastHill Elementary School, and we are doing a special podcast series on the incredible, wonderful STEAM initiative that is going on in the school. We have 3 episodes over the next 3 weeks. We'll be talking to teachers, we'll be talking to our educational consultants, and we'll be talking to students. Stay tuned. In our first episode, we'll be talking to Jason Bixby and Valerie Honig, two of our consultants at the EMSB Educational Services Department. So let me start with you, Valerie, if I may. So what is this STEAM education program that we have? What is this?
STEAM education is a pedagogical approach to teaching and learning, one that emphasizes the integration of multiple subjects in a learning situation, much like project-based learning. However, there are two distinct features that set STEAM education apart from other educational approaches. One is an authentic and meaningful problem that the students can identify in a context and work collaboratively to solve. And the second is the employment of a process to solve said problem, which is for us either engineering design or design thinking. And it's through the identification of a problem in a context and the working toward prototyping the solution that the students are able to implicate or apply their new knowledge and skills that they're developing connected to our curriculum. So the problems, they come in a variety of contexts. They could be problems that the students identify at the school level, the local community, or span to the global community and be connected to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Similarly, they could be problems identified in a novel or a picture book, such as what problems the characters are facing. And then after the problems are identified, the students will then employ a process, engineering design or design thinking, and go through those steps to prototype a solution. And it's through this repetitive use of this process that students really come to better understand that failure and iteration is a natural part of problem solving and learning in general. And when teachers are planning these learning situations, we really emphasize the importance of connecting community. Because bringing community into the classroom or bringing the classroom out into the community as part of this learning situation really helps students understand that what they are learning, the skills they're developing, the knowledge that they're constructing in the classroom has real-world application beyond the school walls, which is a very important feature of STEAM education. And I would say lastly that central to STEAM education is problem solving, developing those skills and other transferable skills, but really offering students the opportunity to engage in experiential learning. We really found that it has engaged them and it's been quite meaningful.
Well, problem solving is it's part of our lives, right?
Right.
You end up being in problem solving no matter what you do.
Yes.
So it ends up becoming quite interesting for the students.
Yes.
Jason, STEAM has been around for a while. Talk me through it from the inception. How did STEAM get to where it is today
Well,
at EastHill?
At the very beginning, STEAM centered mostly around the idea of making, which is a fundamental component of STEAM, but it's not the only thing. So we needed to do some work to bring everybody up to a baseline. So that was the first couple of years. Around 2018 or so, we wanted to bring everybody to a baseline of understanding of what STEAM education is. So we embarked on this tour, so to speak, whereas all of the teachers of all of our schools were subjected to the same professional development. We wanted to dispel the misconception that STEAM was only about science and math. So we embarked on another workshop series around implicating different subject areas. Then we did some stuff with some tools, and you can see behind us here, there's a 3D printer and a cutter. We did workshops on both of those things, actually, so that was good. But what we found during that time was we would get the teachers to come into the school board in room 100B, our innovation and technology lab at the school board, and we found that we would see the same teachers coming in all the time. So we weren't creating that systemic change that we needed. So that's really the reason we made a plan to do a deep dive into one school, and that one school was this school at EastHill.
Valerie, Jason brought it up, this idea that it's science and math. So there seems to be like a misconception that the STEAM program is only science and math. So maybe give me a run through exactly of what it is, because STEAM is an interesting word, but I think it represents several things.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. STEAM is understood, I think, across the world a little differently. So I'll speak to how we understand it at the EMSB. It is defined by its 5 core disciplines, right? So science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. But it's inherently interdisciplinary, so it's not surprising to find teachers implicating as well language arts, social studies, or other subjects. And the value of doing that is that you give your students more opportunities to implicate the knowledge that they're constructing, the skills that they're developing in more subjects than just a few. And those real world contexts of being able to apply your knowledge in those are valuable opportunities. So if you can create them, you're going to make them. So when we're designing these learning situations, or rather teachers are designing the learning situations, they're focusing on what subjects are going to help the students better understand the context where the problem lies, and which subjects are going to better support the students in developing a prototype. And so those subjects are going to be implicated. And in doing that, students come to recognize that problems can be identified, they can be solved across many, many contexts. So a grade 1 picture book, or a grade 5 novel, or a social studies unit, those are valuable contexts to find places to problem solve as well. And I should note, I like to end with this, because just as to any misconception here, the T and the E in STEAM. So those are technology and engineering. And for us, those are not subjects here. So with that being said, technology, tool use, and engineering, the process, are implicated in every learning situation that teachers develop. So those are not subjects, but part of our process.
Well, in 2026, technology, if it's not in any process, we have a problem, because we are surrounded by technology, and the students of today in elementary school are basically born with either an iPad or an electronic device in their hand. So it's a complete different universe from when I went to school. Jason, you mentioned professional development. The essential part is making sure our teachers are aware of how to function. They're trained properly to be able to do what STEAM wants to be done, right?
Yes,
How it has to be done.
intention.
So how do you roll out professional development? How do you do that to make sure everybody's at par?
When we came here, we decided to come up with a plan that obviously implicated all of the teachers in the school. It's basically every teacher in the school will undergo 5 days of professional development per year for 3 years, for a total of 15 professional development days for everybody. Year 2 and year 3 are a little different, but year 1, I'll speak to year 1 because I think it's the most interesting and applicable for our conversation. Day 1 is, we come in on day 1, and the first thing we get the teachers to do is to engage in what we call curriculum mapping. So actually behind us on this wall, 2 years ago now, plus, we had all of the teachers using a piece of chart paper right on the x-axis, I'll say, their subject area, and on the y-axis, the term. And using Post-it notes, they would place it on the appropriate spot on the chart paper for the content. So if I'm doing fractions in June in grade 4 in math, I'll put it in the appropriate place. So everybody did that with every course, and we had this beautiful assortment of Post-it notes from one end to the other. And then, so on day 2, the teachers come in. So they would compare what they were doing and at what time they were doing it, and they would come up with a unifying theme. We called it Generating Common Themes Day. So that was day 2. Day 3 was the same as day 4, which was the days that we would take those problem statements that we generated on day 2, and we would decide to work with one of them and build a learning and evaluation situation. Valerie and I created a template, and on that template, it asks the teacher the probing questions that they need to know in order to tease out basically the tenets that we are concerned with STEAM and with the engineering design process or the design thinking process that Valerie alluded to earlier. The last day, day 5, it's a reflection and planning day, we call it.
I can see the importance of taking the time to do over this training together, because that's the basis, right? You need your teachers to be involved, understand the process, understand what STEAM offers, to be able to transmit that education onto the students.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we need the teachers as advocates for sure, and that has helped. The reflection.
Valerie, Jason, thank you. You guys have put together an incredible program here. I think the students of EastHill are very, very lucky to be able to be in this program. And I wish the both of you much success. Thank you for all that you've done. And hope this thing continues. Steam on ahead, as they say. Steam on ahead. So there we go, folks. That's Valerie, Honig, and Jason Bixby of our Educational Services Department at the EMSB. Come back next week for our second episode of the EMSB special podcast series on the STEAM project from EastHill Elementary School. Next week, we'll speak to 2 of our teachers that are involved in the project.